Wednesday at the NBA Draft Combine, PJ Haggerty lit it up and said he is committed to staying in the NBA draft process. Wait a minute. What?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Thursday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, the scrimmage portion of the NBA Draft Combine was on Wednesday. PJ Haggerty took place in it alongside with three other teams comprised of some fringe NBA draft guys, very talented guys nonetheless. And to your point, what you were saying on, I believe it was Wednesday's episode, he's not doing it against mid-major level talent. He's not doing it against, the sixth man off the bench. He's doing it against all guys that are on the verge of being drafted and some that know that they will be drafted. That's usually what this week is meant for. Some guys that can rise their stock, some guys that already know their stock. It's some of the top level talent of college basketball coming out each and every year. And PJ Haggerty is thriving against that competition. He had himself a day on Wednesday.
Yeah, he surely did. And when you think about what happened and how he performed and all that, I mean, were we expecting anything different? Were we really expecting anything different? And I want to take a second here to kind of ease the minds of Wolfpack Nation, because I need you to understand the way that this thing works. Even with him performing well, even with him putting on a good show, okay, unless he has vaulted up people's draft boards in an exponential way, guys in the back of the first round don't even all make it onto NBA rosters. Like that's a real life thing, right? Just for posterity, for those people who don't believe me right now. Grayson, I'm going to say some names. You tell me what you think this young man is up to, okay? You tell me what you've heard from this young man during the season, because I know everybody was really big on Brownie, who was a second rounder and all that good stuff. But I'm going to name you guys that were picked well in front of Bronny James, and you tell me whether or not you think this guy got big minutes on his team, or whether you think he played a lot for his team this year. Keyshawn George.
No, very little.
Pacome Dadier.
No.
Dylan Jones, perhaps?
No.
May I interest you in some Terrence Shannon Jr.?
Terrence Shannon, a little bit more, but still not that big of a jump.
What about Ryan Dunn?
No.
Isaiah Collier?
No.
All right, so I'm going to stop. None of those guys were the last pick in the first round. All of those guys were first rounders. You just said one of those guys played a decent amount of minutes. You're looking at a situation where it is objectively advantageous for this young man to come back. There is not a world where, again, if we got into the second round guys, most of those guys are in the G League or somewhere hooping overseas already. So again, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by coming back and, at minimum, making more than you would in multiple years anyway. Even if somebody was to argue, well, what if he gets hurt? That hurts his draft stock, and that hurts him in all these ways. The amount that he would make this year surpasses what he would do in multiple years in the G League. That's just a fact. It surpasses multiple years of, if you don't end up being a top-end first-round guy and the team doesn't feel the need to support you type of situation. So, again, it makes more sense for this young man to come back by a mile.
And to further that point, I believe it was in the post-game after his scrimmage took place, he was asked about his plans, whether he's considering going back to college or staying committed to the NBA draft process. And what he said is exactly what all of them say. Anyone that goes to the NBA draft combine, you have to be committed all throughout, or else you're not going to get looked at seriously. And so what PJ Haggerty said was, exactly. And I quote, "I think I'm just going to take it day by day, go through this whole process, talking with my family, just trying to find the best fit for the NBA. I mean, I've got my eligibility, but I'm 100% in the draft. I'm just looking forward to the next chapter," unquote. They all say that. So don't sound the alarms. I know how that reads. You're like, Oh, God, here it comes again. The bottom's going to fall out for NC State. We've been putting all of our eggs in the PJ Haggerty basket, and all of a sudden the basket's going to get walked on. It's not that. All of these prospects go to the NBA draft combine because they're seeking the evaluation. They're seeking the feedback. If they were to go to this combine and just blatantly and immediately say, yeah, I'm here to get some feedback, but I already know where I'm going and I'm going back to college. Not a single NBA team is going to take them seriously after they say something like that.
And they would get sent home. They would get sent home from the combine.
Exactly. They would effectively be sent home because you'd be essentially wasting the time of the NBA scouts and other talent evaluators there. So that is why he said what he said. He's doing that to continue to keep his own leverage. He loses all leverage if he says, yeah, great game, good scrimmage, love to be around these guys, super talented. I'm pretty much going back to college, but I'm just seeing what this week can bring me. No. So I encourage all of y'all, do not hit the panic button. He's just doing what I'm sure he was instructed to do. That matters for the feedback, which he wants, and he'll continue to better his game and hopefully to NC State's benefit. Something that Kenton mentioned yesterday that I want to talk more about today is the way that he is doing this against some of the top talent that you watched last season in college basketball. So just for example, the team that he played on in Wednesday's scrimmage had Mark Sears, who is the guard for Alabama, one of the best scorers in the country, Kobe Barea from Kentucky. I think he was like the best three-point shooter in the country. Cam Jones from Marquette, one of the better guards in the country. Jameer Watkins from Florida State, one of the top big men in the ACC this past year. Carter Knox of Arkansas, and then a couple international players mixed in as well. And then who they played against was Milos Uzan of Houston, Bryce Williams from Nebraska, Sion James from Duke, Grant Nelson from Alabama, Ryan Nembhard from Gonzaga, all super talented guys. And so consider what I said at the very beginning. PJ Haggerty led his team in scoring with 18 points on 7 of 13 shooting, also pulled in 7 rebounds, had 3 assists, and 2 steals. A stat stuffer supreme. He did that against some of the top-level talent that you watched last year in college basketball. And I'll even go a step further. Let me just read you some of his games from this past year against some of the better teams that he played. Opened the season against Missouri. They turned out to be an NCAA tournament team. PJ Haggerty gave them 25, 6, and 5. Later, he played UConn in the Maui Invitational. They were an NCAA tournament team. 22, 3, and 5. Michigan State was an Elite 8 team. PJ Haggerty gave them 16, 9, and 4. He played against Auburn, who was a Final Four team, 27, 9, and 1. He played against Clemson, didn't even have that good of a game, still had 12, 8, and 6 in 44 minutes. They went into overtime. Played against Mississippi State, another tournament team, 24 and 4. Mississippi, or otherwise known as Ole Miss, 17, 7, and 6. In the American Athletic Conference quarterfinal, he had 42 points and 9 boards against Wichita State. He is one of the most talented players in college basketball. He's lighting it up to the NBA draft combine. And if NC State does get this across the finish line, game changer for Will Wade and the Wolfpack.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Definite game changer. And even if they don't land him, this team put together is not without showstopper currently. Is not without really good scorer currently. It's just you can never have too many good players. There are already players on this squad, and I'm like, hey, I can see this guy taking a step up into a bigger role and having to be the guy. But again, having a guy that's a proven the guy already is preferable in a PJ Haggerty. So even if Grace and I are wrong, and PJ Haggerty does say, you know what, bump that college noise, I'm going to the NBA, you are still looking at a situation where Will Wade and Slater and company have put together a hell of a season 1 roster.
Yeah, and he would be taking a sizable risk to do that because like we said yesterday, on many of the mock drafts, he's not even listed in them. So he'd be taking a gigantic leap of faith to hope that he would even get drafted. And at that point, you still might end up in the G League. Everything pointing to PJ Haggerty returning to college for 1 more year to continue building upon his draft stock. That makes the most sense for him, his agent, his camp, his family, all that. He can continue building his draft stock for 1 more year, play in a system like Will Wade's that will illuminate his talents, and he'll be one of the most talented players on this team, put the other guys in around him like a Terrence Arsenault, Trey Holloman, and company. The floor and the ceiling gets instantly raised. It makes all the sense in the world for him to return to college. NC State appears to be the lone offer still on the table. I would expect to see this get done here in a matter of, a week plus. And coming up next on a somewhat related note, I have a clip to play for the process of how Will Wade ended up at NC State. The reason I'm doing this is I want to give another round of applause to Boo Corrigan. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our Thursday sponsor is WayFair. The days are starting to get a little bit longer, the weather's starting to warm up, and people are spending more time outside. That means it's now the perfect time to refresh your outdoor living space. Whether you're working with a big backyard or you're using a smaller balcony, WayFair has everything you need to make it feel more like you. WayFair's massive selection of outdoor essentials makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. From comfy conversation sets to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor, they've simply got it all. And all of these are at the right prices that fit your budget. You can grab a new patio dining set and some string lights. I'm a string light guy myself, all from WayFair, and help extend your outdoor living space. The delivery is free and hassle-free, even for all of the big stuff. Whether you're entertaining guests or just relaxing solo, shop WayFair to help you unwind. Shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online this summer. Get outside with WayFair. Head over to wayfair.com right now. That's WayFair, wayfair.com. WayFair, every style for every home. Middle portion of our Thursday show, I want to spend some time, and I want to also play you a clip from Curry Hicks Sage. This is a page on Twitter. He's kind of effectively another Trilly Donovan, kind of a burner account that's super, super well connected in the world of college basketball. They've done a lot of great work in coaching search season, giving a lot of, looks behind the scenes to specific fan bases, giving some behind the scenes updates of the way things have kind of shaped out across the coaching landscape and even some portal player landscape as well. But Curry Hicks Sage posted a snippet of something that he says that he's working on with Will Wade, full interview that's coming out toward the end of this month. It's about a 2.5-minute clip talking about how Will Wade got to be landed at NC State. I think you're going to like it. Here it is.
Walk me through like the first point of contact, if you will, because I know you guys win the league earlier than other people. I think you had that week to kind of figure it out, which I always think is somewhat favorable. But like, just walk me through the initial point of contact. Do they go through your agent or is it a direct call? Like, what's the first time that you're sort of receive word that you could be in the mix down there?
So Boo, my AD, he's very different, which I love. He doesn't do a lot with agents. He kind of beats to his own drum, which is probably why he hired me. He's from Army. We have a lot of similarities when we get in a room together. It wouldn't appear that way on the outside, but we really do. So I don't want to get anybody in real trouble here, but one of my former athletic directors and him are very good friends. And so the first point of contact was he called my former AD, who I'm still good friends with, and said, hey, I'm interested in Will, asked him about me, et cetera, et cetera. And that AD called me. This was the week before the conference championship. I think we played.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Later in the week, but I think it was right after they let go of Keats and said, hey, are you interested in NC State? Would you be interested? I said, absolutely. And then he said, all right, well, I'm going to talk back with Boo and then we'll be back in touch. And then like 2 days later, I got a call from the AD again. And he said, hey, there's going to be 845 number that calls you in 10 minutes. Pick up the call. And that was the first point of contact.
This is before the conference championship.
Before the conference tournament. Yeah.
Got it.
So we talked for probably 20 or 30 minutes. And I told him, I said, look, like, I'm very interested in your job. I actually pulled my car over and sat in a parking lot and was talking to him. And I said, I'm very interested. It's something that I would be interested in. He asked me a few just kind of, boilerplate questions, simple questions. But I said, look, I've got to finish this off right at McNeese. These people gave me a lifeline. They've been too good to me. Like, I really can't get into a bunch of a search or any of that sort of stuff right now. I think we played in like 2 more days. I was like, look, let me get through the conference tournament. Let me get through the conference championship. And if you want to meet, let's set something up and we'll talk after our conference tournament and then we can figure that out. So really I talked to the AD, the mutual friend, and then I talked with Boo for about 30 minutes. And then he texted me a couple times, hey, good luck in a game. And then that was really how it got started.
So obviously it sounds like the rest of that interview will air sometime at the end of the month of May. I can't wait to hear the rest of it, but I just want to spend this time. Another round of applause for Boo Corrigan. Boo Corrigan has delivered the coach that we have always been waiting for. And we've said that multiple times already, but to listen to the way, kind of behind the scenes of how that went down, Boo Corrigan marching to the beat of his own drum. I love that Wade said that because it matches his personality exactly. Having the right context to get in touch with Wade and doing it all very quietly because he didn't want a bunch of buzz, didn't want a bunch of smoke. He wanted to respect his McNeese crowd and everything they had given him over the course of his 2 years. But Boo Corrigan made sure that it was known that he wanted Will Wade. Made sure to make himself stand out from, I'm sure, the rest of the bunch. There had to be more suitors than just us, but stood out with a personal contact, got in touch, waited patiently, and went about everything the right way. And that is how you land a guy like Will Wade. All the effort behind the scenes is probably more than any of us will know publicly, but Boo Corrigan went out, identified the guy, and then got the guy. We all know him to be one of the best coaches in the entire coaching carousel from this offseason. And not just that, but you've seen Will Wade selling season tickets on the phone from inside the building. And that was a great video that came out over a week ago. And there was another media hit from him on ACC Network down in Amelia Island that aired yesterday, I believe it was. And just the passion that he's already talking about NC State with. This is the guy that we have always dreamed of. And it's still kind of a pinch yourself moment that he is actually here in Raleigh coaching NC State. Boo Corrigan, you beautiful man. You have given us what we've always been waiting for, and it's about to pay off in real time.
And that's why from the beginning of this, it was so hard to keep this under wraps, but more so than anything else, it was a very exciting time because of the way that Boo Corrigan attacked this thing. My source that told me what was going down and how it was going down, I was in disbelief because I'm like, there's no, like, what do you mean? He's like, this is basically a done deal. And mind you, this is early March. This is like very shortly after everything had gone down in terms of what happened with Keats and kind of separating and letting him go there. It was immediate, like, hey, this is who Boo Corrigan wants. He's going all in. He's head down, damn the torpedoes. He's going all in. And as soon as I heard that, I said, okay, all right, we go see. We go see how this thing shakes out. And months later, hashtag Wade at State. Very excited here. And Boo Corrigan was extremely aggressive. Boo Corrigan came out the gates, guns blazing. I want you. What do we got to do? Let's make it happen right now. Let's get this done. And that, to me, this was a serious search conducted by a serious man. Grayson said that there would be brand new coaches for all three sports by 2027 as a prediction. And I'll tell you this, if we do have to do another search in football or baseball, and it goes with as much intensity and ferocity as this one went with, there is not a single coach that is up and coming or that is within our scope that Boo cannot land. Because, again, this was a masterclass. This was an objective masterclass. And how he kept everything under wraps is one of the more underrated parts of this. Because, again, it was one of those things that, like, this is big news. And if you don't think Boo Corrigan was excited about this, you are out of your mind. So for everybody to work together to keep this quiet and like, it's happening, but like, it was again, just a masterclass by Boo Corrigan. Identify your target, be aggressive to get your target, go from there. What a time.
And as loud as all the disrespect has been for Boo Corrigan the last 4 to 5 years, what should be even louder than that is the appreciation for what he just pulled off here. And I want to slightly pivot and shout out Doran's Burner. Shout out to you, DB. He had the tweet, it was from the Canes playoff game at home, raucous environment, one of the best environments in all the NHL. But the tweet said, essentially, this is what the Lenovo Center should look like when Kansas comes to town and Will Wade plays Kansas this coming December. 1,000% stand behind that. Like, this is not something that we're kind of, playing around with. Oh, yeah, the Lenovo Center is going to be great now that Will Wade is here. No, it needs to be. Like, it's a requirement at this point. It has to be, because this is the guy that we've been waiting for in Raleigh. This is the biggest deal of a head coach that we've had since Jim Valvano. That was one of the earliest things I said about Will Wade when his name really surfaced, like a day after Keats was fired. Will Wade would be potentially the closest thing we've ever had to Jim Valvano since Jim Valvano. And this fan base needs to act like that. Match that energy when the season tips off in November. We all know what Wolfpack Nation is capable of a fan base. We have some of the most passion in all of college sport. And we've been such a sleeping giant across football and basketball and baseball, virtually everything for years upon years. But now with a head coach like Will Wade, this is the time that sleeping giant wakes up. This is the time where you utilize the Lenovo Center's capacity to your advantage. They can seat over 18,000 people in there, and people said, that's too big for college basketball, and it's a hockey arena, and it just doesn't fit the personality of the program. Well, guess what, folks? Now it does. Now you can sell that thing out and use that to your advantage. You can very quickly become one of the best college basketball atmospheres, and that is not hyperbole. Dead behind serious. That's how serious I am about this. The fan base has to match that energy. Bring the juice, bring the noise, and make the Lenovo Center the most terrifying place in the ACC that an opponent has to come play in. You think that's not going to make Will Wade a better coach? You think that's not going to give us a boost on the recruiting trail? You think that's not going to attract guys out of the transfer portal? All of that is true. This is the coach. This is the time, and we have the fan base to create a perfect storm. Pun intended with the Carolina Hurricanes. It is now on us. We have to match that energy once the season tips off in November.
Yeah, and again, you talk about the Lenovo being a terrible place to play when all of NC State or all of Wolfpack Nation shows up. I want y'all to think about this. Andy Elliott and Isaac Shade are already talking about, yeah, well, Will Wade's going to have success there, but what if he moves on after a year or two? Think about that. Nobody is saying he won't be successful. The ploy is, well, he's going to leave very soon.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hard pressed, and this is a direct quote. I'm hard pressed to say he's a better hire than Lucas, because what does it mean if he has 2-3 good years and has an Elite Eight run and then moves on, and Lucas has 10 successful years? As if Miami cannot be beat out or outbid for their coach. But that's only a concern with NC State for some reason. Feet are shuffling. Fear is setting in. Mm-hmm. I can smell it. I can smell the fear coming from not just around the conference, because it wasn't Isaac Shade who said that. It was Andy. Andy's not even in this conference. His team's not even in this conference. I can smell the fear setting in. I can smell it. It's delicious. It's delicious. It is so good because, again, folks know that the nation is getting ready to learn some reckoning. It's not just ACC. It's not just folks around the nation know what's coming with Will Wade. And boy, am I excited to see it, because, again, the fan support matching Boo Corrigan's energy. The only way fan support can match what Boo Corrigan did right here is if we pack out those Nova on a regular basis. Point blank period. Point blank period. Boo Corrigan went all in. He gave everything he had to this search. If anything, him and his assistant athletic director, it's like the Jordan and Pippen meme. That's what it would look like with Boo Corrigan being Jordan being carried off, because he gave every single thing he had to this search. So when you look at that and you say, oh, how do we match this as Wolfpack Nation? You show the hell up. You show up, you pack the Lenovo Center, and, you know, Dirty Foot Clubbers already say, oh, the Carolina Hurricanes act like they're an extension of NC State. Good. We share a building. They should. And now we get the chance to pack it out with people who truly don't like those bozos. We get to pack it out with people who truly are going to be laughing and pointing and saying, oh, your coach you had to get rid of your coach because you didn't like him? Oh, shucks. Hate that for you. This guy's going to be here for the next decade or so, and we're going to make him as high paid as he needs to be, because we know exactly the value he's going to bring to this program.
Maybe Will Wade is only here for 5 years. Maybe he has success and then bounces off somewhere else. But what if he has so much success, he builds an empire and doesn't want to leave? What if he creates a program and a home court environment in the Lenovo Center that is so great he can't be swayed to go somewhere else? That is what we have to strive for. That's what this fan base should be preparing to provide in the Lenovo Center. We know we have the fan base to do it. all of the energy that we haven't been able to uncork in the last 20, 30 years as we've been kind of sifting through mediocrity. Now is the time you get to unleash it. Now is the time the Lenovo Center becomes one of the most daunting places to play. And with Will Wade scheduling tougher in the non-conference, like we have VCU, we have Kansas coming to Raleigh. Imagine an environment where Kansas, yes, that Kansas, like the Kansas Jayhawks, is shooketh to come into the Lenny and play NC State. It sounds crazy. It's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. The fan base, Wolfpack Nation, that is on the table for us this year. We can do that. And creating that environment and Will Wade creating this program, you can establish that consistency, which Will Wade has said that is his goal. He's trying to build a consistent winner. It takes everybody to do that. The coaching staff, the players, the administrative staff, and most importantly, in some cases, the fan base. Everybody. It's on us. We got to meet them at the top November 3rd and beyond. Coming up next, game one of a pivotal baseball series, the last home series, last ACC series of the regular season begins on Thursday night. Game one at the Doak. You better pack that freaking place. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple minutes of our Thursday show, NC State baseball will begin the last ACC series of the season, of the regular season, tonight on Thursday evening. 3-game set against the Stanford Cardinal in a must-win situation. We laid out the situation earlier in the week. If NC State sweeps and the Dirty Foot Club beats FSU 1 out of those 3, NC State will be your regular season conference champion of the ACC. First time that's happened since the year 1986. Crazy but true. Pack the Doak. We've said that a ton these last couple weeks, but just like we were talking about with basketball, it matters now too with baseball. Creating that home environment at the Doak is really unlike anything else in the ACC, despite some of our capacity limitations there. This team needs us now. This team needs the fan base to rally behind them, to push them with a little extra juice to get them across the finish line. And Stanford, they've been scuffling as late. We talked about that already. 9-18 within the conference. I think they're 25-23 overall. Just a team that's spiraling in a downward fashion right now. It's on the Wolfpack to take advantage of that. The pitching staff will remain the same rotation as it was last week against the Dirty Foot Club. Ryan Marone will get the game one start on Thursday evening. Dom Fritton, the Friday night start on Friday. And then TBA for the Saturday game, either Heath Andrews or, I don't know. We'll see what they do depending on what the circumstances are. Ryan Marone on the bump on Thursday night in game one, Kenton. Is that the right move for Elliot Avent to stick with his guy?
Absolutely. It's absolutely the right move to stick with your guy. Okay. We've had spectacular success down the stretch for a reason. There's no need to mess with that. And I'm going to say this in terms of packing the place out and all that. We've said enough. We've said enough. We know what's at stake. We know what's at stake. The greatest send-off for a coach in NC State history is at stake.
It's true.
A legend that has been here for decades has the opportunity to go out with his first ACC regular season championship. He has the opportunity to go out with his first ACC conference tournament championship. He has the opportunity to be sent off with his first NCAA national championship. Everything is right there. Go get it. It starts Thursday. It's been an all season long endeavor, but now is where everything needs to ramp up to playoff intensity. Now is where everything needs to ramp up as if, and I know baseball doesn't work like this, but ramps up as if it was one and done from this point on out. Because this sweeping here, control what you control. Everything else you can't control what the Dirty Foot Club in Florida State do. You can't control it. It's just not in your power. But you control what you do in the dope. Make this happen. Wolfpack Nation, you control how you show up to the dope. Make it happen.
Handle your own business and let the chips fall where they may. And as I mentioned earlier in the week, some weather to keep an eye on. Of course, it's right now supposed to be raining on Saturday. I would hope that NC State, Stanford, the ACC, and the NCAA will do everything they can to get each and every one of these 3 games in. If that takes a doubleheader on Friday, do it. If it takes a doubleheader on Sunday, you have to find a way to do it. NC State cannot afford to have any one of these 3 games taken away from them, so I hope the grounds crew is ready to go. If it takes all of us, the fan base, to get the field ready, I will go out there and pull tarp or rake or do anything and put some quick dry down call upon the fan base. We will get these 3 games in. So help me God. Whatever it takes, we have got to get these in. And most importantly, you got to win them. So 3-game series with the Stanford Cardinal beginning on Thursday night, scheduled as of now for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Must sweep, and you need the Dirty Foot Club to not lose one of their 3 games down in Tallahassee. That is your watching guide for the weekend. Massive series for the Wolfpack with a lot at stake that currently lies in their own hands. That will do it for us here on Thursday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, give us your thoughts on PJ Haggerty tearing it up at the NBA Draft Combine, and give us your thoughts on what he said, that he's committed to staying in the NBA draft process. Proceed with caution. I already gave you the warning on that, but give me your thoughts there. Give me your thoughts on NC State baseball this upcoming weekend against Stanford. And finally, give me your thoughts on Boo Corrigan. How do you like that man now? All the hate that he's taken the last couple of years, some of it justified, I get it, but delivering the hire of what is many of our lifetimes in Will Wade. Round of applause again for our athletic director, Boo Corrigan. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you right back here tomorrow on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.